home decided to watch some TV, listening to the news by Gordon Mosley. And listening to the things that he say he tracking tonight, paying close attention to make sure I hear it right. Now when I hear the things that he mentioned on the news, I had to declare them kind of thing got me confused. I hear some things where the ERC noticing, and it convinced me that people ain't learning nothing. We hear so many times about them big name calling, and they say ERC pretend that they didn't learn nothing. But once you're black and you just decide to say a word or two, bet your life on that, they say ERC coming for you. Listen to the things you just hear on social media. Only one set of people allowed to talk in one Guyana. I still say nothing, black people in learning. But this is my concern. I hope one day black people will learn. ERC that I would like to know, if any of his members happens to be black people. And if that is the case, I want them to answer this call. Tell me how come none of them ain't got no voice at all. You're showing signs of weakness and you're afraid to be fair, and we see the same thing keep happening year after year. And the day will come when all this nonsense will stop. That will be the day when black people decide to wake up. Not so long ago, something terrible happened. This young Indian man want to kill out all black people by poison. But if his shoes was on the other foot, would have been a big threat. But up to this day, this ERC can do nothing as yet. How come it's only black people committing cybercrime? When pretty on social media fussing people all the time, I still say black people in learning. But one day will come when the entire table will turn. Excuse me, see they fail to condemn, because these people think that the law is only for them. And anybody else who decide to file a complaint, they go call you a racist and don't want to hear nothing. Plenty complaint from time to time has been brought to their attention, but because of this one-sided cybercrime is why they don't show any concern. There's only one set of people that they really care about, and black people must take the abuse and shut them out. Kidaki Amsterdam went to court just recently for an issue that was highlighted by the same ERC. And with breakneck speed, the police decide to jump on his case. Without a search warrant, they went and search up the man's place. Let us all agree that black people under attack. Different laws for you and me just because we black. I still singing. Black people in London. To all my black friends, we must put a stop to all this nonsense. Cybercrime laws to keep people silent, just to make sure nobody criticizes government. And while that is a very clear case of dictatorship, it is no surprise that the ERC ignoring it. Why only the chosen few is allowed to have things their way, when people like me and you must have nothing to say? And when ministers in the government start to launch their attack, you never hear this ERC come out and talk about that. They send a policeman all the way to New York. This fella went up there to serve a customer and wait for board. Under this thing, this government decide to fabricate a case, but like they forget the warning they get from black t-shirt jails. The vice president described that he use as a low life. Because of this kind of abuse, he don't have a wife. I still singing. Black people in learning. Just the other day, I hope your man see help is on the way.
All right, so today we are here at Club Twilight up in Buxton, and we are here to talk about all that's going on up here. Trust me, if you are on the East Coast, you're in Buxton, you're in Tongue, you're looking for a place to get away to, this is the place. The Cutters, mwah. Listen, I'll be having some just now again. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, the ambience is beautiful, fully air conditioned. The decor is on point. The music's on point. Everything's on point. It's just me. I need some work. But everything else that belongs to this club here is on point. So if you want to find a nice little place, or you can just drive out of town and have some drinks, have some food, you can call, you can order your stuff and just take it. You don't have to stay. Or if you want to stay here, that's what's up. And of course, they have special events for Valentine's. You can rent a hall. You can rent a hall, honey. You can rent a hall for weddings, for birthday parties, to have a bash. I hope he edits that out. But you know, whatever it is, this is definitely the place to be. So it's on Sideline Dam. You definitely want to ensure that you check this place out. But it's on your to-do list. All right, on your to-do list. This is definitely the place to check out, you know, a really cool, chill spot here in Buxton. I like this. This is, Buxton needed this. We needed this. I needed this. You definitely needed too. Thank you. All right, so you might be wondering where we are. Still in Buxton at Club Twilight. That's where we are. So Club Twilight also has like an Airbnb as well. So you could come, drink, drunk, and come in the back here and lie down. Look at that. Look at that. Perfection. And the people come in the room and so on. The bed sheet matching the blind, matching the carpet, matching the this, matching the that. We know but we things in Buxton don't play with we. So definitely, if you want to come and you may be having a wedding or whatever, and you just want to overnight and just have a good time because you're gonna be drunk. We got too much road accidents, so you definitely want to come drink, have a good time. They have several rooms that you can rent. You have your toilet, you have your bath, you have your sink, you have your dining area, you have the bed. This is nice. I like it. Anyways, to my friends and my family, if you're looking for me, I'll be overnighting. Also, for those persons who are traveling in from overseas, you want a nice, cozy place out of town, then Club Twilight, call them up, look them up on social media. They have their own Facebook page, and ensure that you come up the side and have a good time. Have a good time. Have a good time. Sorry. I'm sorry. That's it.
Don't be a victim. Beat the heat with EC Crystals. Party ice in large and small quantities. Call 682-7981 or visit us at Club Twilight, Sideline Dam, Buxton North. EC Crystals, pure party ice.
Are you looking for tents to rent? Well, look no further. At EC Party Rentals, Sideline Dam, Buxton North, we have tents in all sizes and colors. All sizes of tents we have. Small tents, big tents, medium tents, extra large tents. Call us on 622-5933. We have what you need. EC Party Rentals. Big on tents. Planning a party? Worry no more. We have all the supplies you need. At EC Party Rentals, we have folding chairs, folding tables, square tables, round tables, long tables, short tables, big tables. We have chairs, red chairs, gold chairs, white chairs, crystal chairs, chairs of all type, throne chairs. What you want, we have. Food warmers, coolers, ice, beverages. At EC Party Rentals, we have what you need to have a good time. You plan the party, we do the work. Call us 622-5933. Easy Party Rentals. Let's keep your party going.
You can get meat anywhere, but for the best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T&W Harris Butcher Shop located in the East Rheinveld Market Meat Section. Call us on 609-7168, 641-4494. Ask for Rastaman. T&W Harris Butcher Shop for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more.
Hey, Guyana, time to rise up, time to move up. APNU in the place, we put people first. From Essequibo straight to Berbice, Guyana people want justice and peace. From quarantine water to Demerara Shore, we tire promises, we want more. No more lies, no more disguise. It's time for we dreams to realize. We coming strong with people power. APNU our, this is we our. APNU, say people first. We not gonna stop till the blessings burst. APNU, we putting people first. Time to rise up, break the curse. Future bright like a brand new day. We join lead in a real big way. APNU, say people first. From the top to the bottom, love, unity blazing, vision clear. Guyanese strong, no space for fear. We got the rhythm, we got the fire, lifting every village higher and higher. No more fights, no more delay. We come to build Guyana today. From Lettenbush to Bartica Base, every face got a place in this race. We done with the brokenness, done with the slack. We're taking the country forward, no turning back. Who you voting? Why we voting? Tell the nation. Let we go and claim the prize. APNU, we putting people first. Time to rise up, break the curse. Future bright like a brand new day. We dine lead in a real big way. APNU, say people first. From the top to the bottom, of unity blazing, vision clear. Guyanese strong, no space for fear. Every youth, every elder stand tall. This Guyana belong to us all. From the market woman to the king cutter hand, we building up this blessed land. APNU got the plan, got the drive. Putting people first, keeping up alive. So wind up, jump up, move with pride. We waving them flag nationwide. Say, are you ready? Are you ready? Say, we go vote. Say, APNU. People first. APNU, we putting people first. Time to rise up, break the curse. Future bright like a brand new day. We giant lead in a real big way. APNU, say people first. From the top to the bottom up. Unity blazing, vision clear. Guyanese strong, no space for fear. We outside in sun and rain. We putting people first again. APNU, we lead the line. Time for Guyana to rise and shine.
I can't take it no more. I can't take it no more. Can't take it no more. Imagine 18 hours of blackout and you're telling people progress. Cost of living gone up 100%, yet you give public servant less. Mr. President, listen to the people. Search your soul and you will confess. I want you try surviving on the public face, then you're gonna know.
I see they got a battle brewing in front of GCOM, as is usual. Nothing surprising there. The corrupt PPP said they've been out there before APNU, but there is no evidence to show that, right? I said the thing set aside ago. Mr. Jordan, good morning. Welcome to the program. How are you doing, buddy?
Good morning, Kadaki. Good morning to you. Here enjoying the weather. A rainy morning. I don't know if it's raining by your end there in Buxton.
Yes, it rained a bit, and I know you will enjoy it because it cools down the place and it gives you water, which Guyway is not doing.
Why that thing got its pluses and it got some small minuses because, like I had indicated to you earlier, I have this problem that I've been getting with my knee. So it gets aggravated with this kind of weather, you know. And even though the doctor is claiming it's not arthritis, I don't know what on earth it is, but it's just there, you know. But we gotta thank it's thankful Thursday, and we gotta thank the Lord for bringing us through another Thursday so that we could enjoy all His blessings and glories, and also to be a part of the living. Notwithstanding, it's challenging to live in this country, you know, but it's better living than dead, as some people say. We got a lot to talk about today. You know, every day we got a lot to talk about, but there's so much to talk about, especially during this silly season of ours. Before I get to the substantive topic I want to deal with today, spare me some tangential ones. For us recognizing finally that the 12th Parliament has been dissolved. You know, I don't recall, I tried to read anywhere where you had to consistently call upon the government to dissolve a parliament after they would have indicated when is the date of the elections. You know, I don't know whether they think they were being smart or whatever, but it was rank foolishness and stupidity to name a date for elections and not saying when Parliament will be dissolved. You know, I tried to go back as far as I could to see when people name the date, when did they say that the Parliament will dissolve, and it's almost always at the specific time that they name the date that they indicate when the Parliament will be dissolved. So what was this foolishness? It's only in Guyana you could find these ruptures, and we stand out like a sore thumb where these matters are concerned. But I see credible news, Asher Duncan pages suggesting that there may be some set of tugging and pulling at Freedom House over these matters. And, you know, but after the tug and pull, partisan and political matters, they should come to national matters. But happily, they have taken us out of our torture the 12th Parliament, in my book, will go down as easily the worst parliament in the history of this country. Easily. It is the worst parliament in the history in this country, presided over by the worst speaker in the history of this country. You know, I mean, when you consider speakers like Rahman B. Gadraj, Alin, Sesno Ryan, the longest sovereign speaker, and so on. Even grudgingly, Ram Karan, and not so grudgingly Tratman, because he ranks among the top speakers that we would have had in the parliament. And also, I'm not forgetting back in Scotland. They all try to run a parliament that, with all appearances of being neutral, all appearances, I see. I mean, clearly, if one party is electing a speaker, then there will be some inherent bias, especially when it comes to certain rulings. But there was genuine appearances of unbiasedness by these speakers that I call, notwithstanding the fact that they were nominated by the ruling party. But in this 12th Parliament, for the first time, with me following parliamentary procedures and so on, and how they operate, this is the worst. It was the most biased parliament that you come about, and it's the parliament that virtually didn't even recognize that an opposition existed. You know, and so one hopes that the 13th Parliament, even though they say 13 is an unlucky number, let us hope that it will be a considerable improvement. That it will be a considerable improvement over the 12th Parliament. When you look in terms of achievement, the 12th Parliament also will go easily in terms of the sectoral committees meeting, in terms of sectoral committee reports, you know, on all these different things. So good riddance, goodbye, and let us welcome the 13th Parliament, which we hope will be one that is diverse, one that will have a speaker who understands his or her role, and who understands that, notwithstanding being elected by the majority in the House, that having been elected, that they have to sit and show some high degree of impartiality in their learnings and in their rulings and so forth. All right, so goodbye 12th Parliament, hello 13th to come. Another point I want to recognize, the APNU launch on Sunday gone. It was a spectacular launch. It was well choreographed and well organized, and for that I give all of those who were behind the scenes and in front early kudos where that is concerned. In fact, for it to have caught the eyes and the attention of none other than Christopher Ram, who's easily among the leading commentators in Guyana on all kinds of subjects, and who you can't claim to be a rabid supporter of the PNC/APNU/AFC, right? Because when you look, don't forget, Christopher Ram's name was put up by the PPP to be elections commission, chairman of the elections commission. It was Christopher Ram who, when the PPP were installed in August of 2020, who was quickly nominated to do audits of certain places, including NISIL and the Lotto Fund, right? And it's Christopher Ram who, during the post-February electoral developments, who took the then government to court in a number of cases. Right? So they can't say that he's some rabid APNU / supporter and so on. But it was Christopher Ram in a letter to the editor in Starbuck News, July the 8th, 2025. The headline of that letter was Norton's Resurgent APNU. And let me just read a quick quote from it. It says, Aubrey Norton repeated the show or represented the show of its party's resilience on Sunday evening with a huge turnout at its 2025 elections campaign launch at the Square of the Revolution. It must trouble the PPPC that for all its confidence from endorsements with all its confidence from endorsement from recent members of the APNU AFC, from several cash grants with promises of more to come, from the convenient attendance of tens of thousands of part-time workers at its events, and the demonizing of David Hines, that the PNCR or APNU could attract such a crowd. I agree. I totally agree with this analysis, observation, commentary, because we all know over the past months the pressure that the APNU was under, well, certainly the PNC was under. We all knew the attacks, personal attacks, both public and otherwise, and the snide remarks that were thrown at Aubrey and so on. But he was able to deflect, answer, and whatever else. And Sunday, if anybody wanted another reason to support the APNU and Aubrey as its leader and director as the prime ministerial candidate, Sunday should have removed the last vestige of doubts. And you know, Sunday also brought out what some of us have been saying, that if only we could look at the bigger picture, which is removing the PPP from government. If only we can look at the bigger picture, which is one of unity and national development. All those who, well, not all, I'm not unhappy with some of them who have gone. Some of them who have gone have never really been in. They've never really been in. It reminds you of somewhat of some of those families who used to have one family in the PNC and one in the PPP, or one family supporting the PNC openly and one supporting the PPP openly. So in that way, you don't lose. So we have something not necessarily akin to that, but you had situations where certain people were in the APNU / AFC physically, but they were not there mentally, right? Back in the days when I was at University again and doing development economics, I was introduced to this concept of psychological migrant. The professor said most Guyanese are migrants, either physically or psychologically. And he went on to explain that the psychological migrants are those who are still in Guyana, perhaps with little hope to migrate, but they're still in Guyana, hoping to migrate, waiting on the call, or waiting for the sponsorship, or waiting for visa. But meanwhile, while they are waiting, they're exposed to television that shows them basketball, American football, golf, and all these different things, American, that shows them all kinds of different American foods, hamburger and whatnot. shows them brand name clothes, the Jordans and the whatnots and so on. And they bombard their relatives to send barrels of all of those things, the foods and so on. So when we grow up on plantain and cassava and dumpling and all these kinds of things, once we get exposed to that TV with all those things, we don't want dumpling and plantain and so on anymore. We want KFC. Back in those days, KFC wasn't here, but we want KFC. We want something looking like KFC. And that is why up to today, you could still see people flocking to all of those fast foods. The faster they open, the faster they flock at them and forget all those foods that brought us up and kept us safe. And kept us safe. And kept us away from diabetes and so on. Every now and then you grow up, you might have seen a fat boy and so on, and we said they got breaks and so forth. But now, we look at WHO studies, particularly in the Caribbean. We might be among the fastest growing regions with these kinds of NCDs, non-communicable diseases, where diabetes, high blood pressure, and so on are affecting even not diseases that are only for the elderly. They're now affecting the young, the teenage, the preteens, and so on. Yeah, so we had psychological migrant. So these people, they were there physically, but psychologically, they were on the other side. And they are some of the most dangerous people you could have among you. Some of the most dangerous people you could have. Some of them have come out openly and said they never left the other party. But they were there openly seen with folks. They were in the belly of the coalition government. But now they openly said, I never left the other party. And it's a similar thing of those others who have gone over. So wish them luck, goodbye. But there are others who I feel had a great future in the party. A great future. And all they wish to do is to show political savagery. Not political savvy, not savage. I'm sorry. Political savvy. And show that when the going gets tough, they are equipped to overcome those challenges. I remember, and I always said, a number of people, Nagamoto, Kemraj, Hammy Green, and all these people, were lifelong heavyweights in their party. And they were pushed over the edge and they left. Hammy ultimately returned when the conditions were right. But he didn't want to leave, but the conditions were right and he returned. And there was a former Prime Minister of Jamaica who headed an observer mission. I think it's the Commonwealth Observer because I believe Owen Hart headed the OAS. One of the two, they might interchange. Golden, right? Bruce Golden, I think it was his name. But he was an ardent supporter of the JLP. And he had his times and his challenges and so on, and he decided to leave the party and form his own party. He was wiped out in an election, wiped out, completely wiped out. And in Jamaica, you lose your deposit. So he would have lost his. But he quickly came to his senses and rejoined the JLP. And after rejoining the JLP, he ultimately became Prime Minister of Jamaica. The point is, you have to show your mettle when times are rough, when you get the ultimate of challenges. And if you're a Christian, you have to believe in that because Jesus Christ went through the ultimate and he didn't back off. He didn't back off. And he will expect his servants to be similarly forged. But we have people who don't see the bigger picture. We have people who don't see the bigger picture. I was joisting with a friend yesterday, I did before yesterday, about these small parties and so on. And I just, in passing, said, by the way, would these small parties, all of them combined, if they were able to combine themselves, be able to feel an observer for each one of those polling stations? Let's say about 3,000. Or are they going to depend on SOPs given to them by the PPP, as was done in the last election? The bigger picture is always lost when we allow our egos to get the better of us. And I know a lot of people I talking about it are my friends, and in my thing they still remain friends, you know. But it saddens me that we can always be seen to be fighting among ourselves for things, as far as I'm concerned, that don't matter. And in that process, miss the ultimate prize. The ultimate prize. Because we have to be honest. Like the 2020 election, this one here is even more important. It's even more important because the PPP has shown us over the last 5 years what they have in store for us. And for them to enjoy another 5 years minimum is going to be living hell. Living hell. And I don't know what more it should have taken if we understood that, and understood that we have to do whatever it takes to support each other, and get to that finish line and cross over, right? I don't know what it takes, but it is what it is, and so we have to make do with what we have and see how we could maximize given what is now available. It is what it is. They say both done Ghana falls, and so we have to maximize what we have. You know, some people point that if you have strong institutions, then it doesn't matter who governs or who's in power if you have strong institutions. But that's where the problem is in Guyana. We don't have strong institutions. We don't have strong institutions. And daily you can see, daily there's a cry. There's a cry for all kinds of things. There's a cry for public service. There's a cry for justice. There's a cry in consumer affairs. There's a cry social. There's all kinds of cries. We don't have strong institutions. And in the absence of strong institutions, you then can't say it doesn't matter who is in power or so. So that is my point on that. And I will only end off by saying the APNU must now ramp up. Don't sit back and beat your chest because you had a launch, a fulfilling launch. That must be the start of greater things to come. So you have to ramp up, right? You have days left. You have to ramp up. As I said, there are going to be a lot of blind alleys. The opposition, the government is going to throw a lot of things out there. And you're going to spend a lot of your time. Trying to clarify, correct, and all this kind. Meanwhile, your message will not be getting out. So you have to strategize on that and make certain that the message that you have is getting to the people. Yeah, they're gonna try. They're gonna try that as I'm going to show you just now. They're going to try it. And no matter what, they're going to try it and they're going to try it. And every time they try it, you have to have your strategies to make certain that your message for this election is not being drowned out by what they are saying, or you're using up valuable time in that. And to the people of Guyana, especially the youths, I heard a lot of you say you're in voting. You're in voting because neither of the two parties looks after your interests. I want to say something to you. It is very unfortunate. I say this over and over again on this program. It is very unfortunate that we are no longer teaching Guyanese history in schools. That we no longer have the extended family to educate us. You could have learned a lot of tales from your grandfather and your grandmother and your great-grandfather and so on. These days, people are making children so young. The mothers themselves or the fathers themselves didn't even have opportunity to learn about themselves, much less to impart onto the new ones that are coming up. So you got a lot of youths in particular who are tech savvy and all these kinds of things, but who are devoid of history. Sad to say, but this is true. Some of them are excelling in all kinds of things, but not understanding from whence they came. And you can excel in all these different things. But if you don't know where you came from, how are you going to know whether you're making a difference in terms of what you're excelling in? Our foreparents fought, died. They fought from the time they were enslaved as free people roaming Africa as kings and queens and princesses and so on. When they were captured in the most violent, inhuman system called slavery, brought across the Atlantic to these shores where they met the indigenous people. And then it came, then it began. A debased system. Our people fought. Many jumped overboard rather than coming here. Many did everything rather than be slaves. But ultimately, our ancestors fought. The plantation, the planters, the colonials, and everybody until they were freed. Then came the indentured. They also with their own struggles. And as a people, we fought for the right to vote and the right to independence. And who are you today to say you're not voting? I'm not telling you who to vote for. But you can commit the greatest crime and you could insult your ancestors if what they fought for in terms of the vote is given up so lightly. Me, I'm voting because, brother, if you don't vote, sister, you have voted for the person who won the election. Simple as that. And those who are selling their votes cheaply for a small contract, for a $5,000, is that what your ancestors fought for? For you to sell the vote? Know that you have the right to vote? I say youths in particular, but every soul in this country. Your ancestors fought for that right. In some places, even in some big developed countries, they are trying to take back that right from what your ancestors fought for you to have today. And you are giving it up willingly when you say you're not voting. I don't know how many youths are on this program. I don't know how many. But I hope the program can spread widely. And I hope the APNU and all the small parties can impress upon the people in their walkabouts, in their campaign meetings, in their campaign slogans, and so on, the right to vote, the reason why they have to vote. And in particular, Region 4. I don't know what it is about the urban, but they seem to have higher percentages in the rural areas voting than in the urban areas. Turnout in Georgetown and Region 4 always seem to be lower than turnout in many of the outlying regions. So this is something the APNU, who has a very big task ahead because they don't have the monies of a WIN or a PPP. I don't know how true it is, but Sherrod says just for the one launch in Kitty coming up on Sunday, the PPP is spending $800 million. Right? I don't know how true it is, but quoting from credible sources, that's what he's saying. Now, when you got that kind of money, when you have that kind of money, you need an Elon Musk now to come and help you on the APNU. And they seem to have a flag war between the blue and white and the German flag. But I hope these issues can resonate, and it's not too late to convince everybody, but especially the youth, that the right to vote, the ancestors died, were maimed, bruised, and everything else for that right. And for you to simply give it up, all right, is an injustice to your ancestors, an injustice to yourself. And you have to admit, and you don't vote, you voted for the person who thing. Now, I heard David at the meeting saying, don't split the vote. Well, that goes without saying, because, as I said, I name it the Jordan conundrum. You can't divide a minority to achieve a majority, right? You can't divide a minority to achieve a majority. So you can't split up the vote and flake off the vote and hope. It will take about 7,000 or thereabout votes for one seat coming up, I would think, or more, because 65 seats with a list of 700 and something thousand. On average, roughly 500 something thousand people vote. So that would be about 8 6 is 48. Yeah, about 8,000 for a seat. Now, over the last 2020 election or thereabout, it was less than 8,000 for a seat. And the seats were shared largely between APNU plus AFC and the PPP, with one left back seat going to the join the party. But those join the party combined singly, because I doubt whether they'll have any join the party this time around based on what happened. Some of them got, I think, 400 or something, 2,000 or something, 1,900 or something. Nowhere near getting a seat at the individual level. Nowhere near. But again, as I said, book sense without common sense is nonsense. All right? So we leave that at that. And the last quick point I want to raise is today reading the Stablet News this morning, reading the Stablet News before I came on here. Of all the things Stablet News. Stablet News in today's newspaper has a short article with headline, Maize had the most students in the top 179. Really, Stablet News? Is this news? Really? Stablet News had one of the most powerful editorials on the common entrance and the glorification of these 179 or those who go into the six or the top six schools in so-called top six schools. Powerful editorial and so on. And Stablet News comes today and tells you what Mayors had the most in the 179. Who cares? And why is this news? After all 179 people, students, pupils, were there in the newspapers. The Ministry of Education put it there, and you published it. Anybody could do the counting, which I sure they did. So why is this news? Aren't you now turning around glorifying the 179, the very editorial that you had saying that why you glorifying this and so on? Aren't you not doing that in yourself? A brick bat to Stablet News on this nonsense. And what does it mean anyhow to say that Mays had the most 22 or 20 out of the 170? What does that mean? You didn't say how many students Mays put up to the exam. They could have had 22 out of 200. Another school might have had 12 out of 50. So what on earth is this nonsense that you put in the air and things? Shame on you, Stablet News, a quality newspaper, that you will come up with this nonsense here. And after your strong editorial that you had there, didn't you read about I think it's a indigenous person, or certainly a person who lives in one of the indigenous communities, 12-year-old girl who committed suicide, who had just written common entrance? Look, a brick bat. Normally you'll get kudos, but you get a brick bat for the nonsense. That precious space, precious inches in Stablet News could have been used to bring valid and credible news to the population, rather than this nonsense about 22 and 12 from this place and 10 from this place and 9 from this place. That has absolutely nothing, means nothing, means absolutely nothing. Nothing. And for those who wanted to do it, they could have done it, because all 179 names were published in the newspapers and the schools where they came from and the marks that they got. All of that could have been done by anybody who wanted it to do it. Anyway, that is the 3 points I wanted to raise before I come to my substantive issue of today. You know, the Sunday Chronicle of July the 6th, 2025, at page 12. Before that, I must admit that I got a email from former President Granger early morning with a story of this ilk. And then somebody else sent me this Sunday Chronicle, July the 6th, 2025, page 12. It had the heading, APNU plus AFC taxed everything under the sun. A heading obviously quoting Jaglio from the Corner Shop show last week, Thursday. Unlike his previous rantings about the imposition of 200 taxes, you know, he had been going on with this since 2016, 2017, during the budget debate. 2016, December, during the budget debate of the 2017 budget and the post-budget debate, and so on. Since then, he had been going on about us imposing 200 taxes. He settled on this 200 number. And then it had been picked up by his other colleagues. Even former President Ramatar, as I said, picked it up, and certain others. And certain others. 200 taxes. And I had called on him through the speaker, then Speaker Barton Scotland, for him to name those 200 taxes that he keeps spewing in the parliament or face sanctions. And I don't recall what was the ruling of the then speaker, but I rather suspect he had pulled back and began using the 200 outside of parliament. But never once was he able to list them so people will get what it is that he's talking about. And I don't know whether he was trying to push me or other members of the coalition to list them for him. But he never did. In fact, as recent as the 31st of May 2023, when questioned by Annette Ferguson, on the then honorable member in the 12th Parliament, for him to provide a detailed list of the 200 taxes and fees, because now they've brought it from the 11th Parliament to the 12th Parliament. Ashni Singh, who was meant to answer the question by the honorable member then, had this to say, quote, "The list of taxes and fees imposed by APNU AFC government during May 2015 to August 2020 has been extensively reported on and ventilated in the public domain," end of quote. Yet again, he follows his boss. He follows his boss. He doesn't provide the parliament where a request was named to list the taxes. But he comes up with this answer. Now, I'm almost sure, had he been in the Parliament of Barton, Scotland, he would not have gotten away with this answer. Because you're the ones who keep claiming that in the Parliament, the 200 taxes were imposed by the coalition government. So how come you can't list these taxes? And by the way, I remember doing a program sometime, it's either 2021, 22, 23, or one of them, in which I gave a definition of what is a tax versus what is a fee and other fiscal imposts. And when I did that, Jaguar suddenly moved from 200 taxes to 200 taxes and fees. So it was no longer 200 taxes, it was now 200 taxes and fees. After hearing this clarification, and that is why I was forcing them to list the 200 taxes. I would have had a great laugh. I would have had a great laugh when they listed it. And perhaps recognizing the trap that was being set for them, they run out now and add fees. And they can't make up their minds. He can't make up his mind. 200 taxes is what he had put out there for years. But I think earlier this year or during the budget debate, yes, I think it was during the budget debate on the 2025 budget, at one of his corner shop shows, He said he had recounted it, and it's more like 380 taxes and fees. But last week, your party recounted it again, and it came down to 300. Go bells, boy. Go bells. Repeat a lie often enough, and it will sound like the truth, or it becomes the truth. Well, we can't allow it to become the truth. We can't allow it to become the truth. So in this article, they repeat the 200. Jordan taxed everything under the sun. He advises people to go to Jordan budget speeches and go to the back of those speeches, and you will find an annex of fees and taxation increases. Well, I advise the very people indeed, go. Go. The budget speeches are public documents. Go. And you will find more than just taxes and fees. We will elaborate shortly. But can you imagine? Can you imagine? In 2025, days before an election, a head-on show of a leading political party in a government that controlled $5 trillion over the last 5 years. $5 trillion. A government that produced 6 budgets. The only thing that they could put in front of them, or what seems to be their banner going into the election, is to compare their $5 trillion with the coalition government with its 1.2 trillion over all 5 years. That's the only thing that they have. These people are barren of ideas. They don't have traction. They don't have traction, so they fall back. Let me tell you something. I saw the playbook of the PPP for the 2023 local government elections. It itemized a set of points that must be stressed in the public domain. And if they clarify or they rebut, say it over and over again. That's what the playbook had said. So all they have done is dust off that playbook, and they're using it here again. And he said it openly anyhow. He said he's going to use the performance of the coalition government as their banner headline heading into the election. Can you imagine? You had $5 trillion unheard of in the history of this country. 5 trillion. As against the coalition's 1.2. You had 5 unbroken years. 5 unbroken years. As against the coalition's 3 and a piece. And you had 4 times plus as much money that was available to the coalition. And instead of you saying your successes as your banner is coalition. And what coalition put taxes and so on. Yes, go to the back of all 5 of our budget speeches and see all the measures. Don't look partially, look at all the measures. And by the way, taxes, I will come back to it. So let me don't let me put it there at the moment. Don't let me put that there at the moment. That just go there and review all the measures that the coalition government put in place. And stop sidetracking people into taxes and this and that. And let people understand how it is that the cost of living in this country, where you now claiming, you remove all these taxes and so on. You are now claiming that you remove all these taxes. And yet, the cost of living in this country over the last 5 years is unheard of in the annals of this country, even when we had the hard times in the 70s, when you have massive devaluations and all those kinds of stories. You got there. I saw a thing yesterday. I don't know if it's dated or not, with pumpkin, a piece of pumpkin is $1,200. A slice of pumpkin, $1,200. I don't know whether it's a dated thing or not. But whether it's dated or not, it just goes, it reflects $1,200. And that in food alone, over the last couple of years, had increased by 75, on average, 75%, based on GMC figures. Don't bamboozle people. All these 200 and 300 taxes that you talk about that the coalition put in, what was the cost of living during our time? What was the cost of living? Entire period, average inflation, 0.9%, almost negligible. What you're telling people all, you see, ultimately, it's what affects your standard of living. You remove all the taxes that you claim, all have been removed. But yet still, look at the people's standard of living. Who is complaining about cost of living? Did you hear people complaining about cost of living in the coalition government? At a time when we were bucking the horse and giving people salary increases of a combined total of 77% in that short period? How much have you given them? How much have you given them? Don't let people don't get sidetracked. I often tell you, when the coalition government came in, it met a mess. Some we knew, some we didn't know about. The ones that we knew was that the economy was infested with drugs. And there was high crime in the system. That the then government had refused to allow the British assistance and the Americans to set up the DEA in this country. This was a crime-ridden and a drug-ridden country. The country was being run on drugs. Drugs. But President Granger was strong on cleaning the economy. And immediately when he came to power, he re-engaged the British. He re-engaged the British to get back the technical assistance that they had withdrawn. And immediately engaged the Americans to station the DEA in here. And those two combined things, you gradually saw the economy being cleaned up and restoration of security in the country. And the economy in the first 2 years, 1.5 year, 2015 half year and 2016, was suffering from withdrawal symptoms. Because, as you well know, a drug user, when you withdraw the drugs from them, especially at the rate at which we were trying to do it in Guyana, and to help clean out the system, they suffer from severe withdrawal symptoms. And so we had that You had the withdrawal symptoms in Guyana when we tried to remove the drugs. And of course, for the umpteenth time, we had the Gaisukos, the rice and all these things where we had to find tremendous money. A colleague of mine 2 days ago, I think it was, a cabinet colleague of mine asked me to resend him some information on rice. And I sent it to him. And as I sent it to him, I read back some of it. And I saw in 2015 how much money we had to put. How much money we had to put. And the questions I had to answer that were asked by then member Irfan Ali. And the questions that I had to answer in relation to rice. A problem that they left. A problem that they left. But he wanted to pretend of being magnanimous by asking me these questions that they were asking on behalf of the welfare of the rice farmers. I'm sorry we did not do a good job of putting it out there. I went back there and I saw some of the answers I gave him. Because they want to push the narrative that we didn't like rice farmers and we didn't like sugar workers and so on. So even as early as 2015, imagine, he was asking me those questions about rice. But I had put it out in there and I'm glad it's in the Hansard. The state that they left the rice sector in when we left. The state at which they left the sugar industry in when we left. And they wanted by magic for we to find the money to keep these two industries, their pet industries going. Don't matter what, come hell or high or what. And they were going to put enough pressure on us to make certain that we diverted enough resources or more than the fair share of resources to these two entities. Meanwhile, they're telling the private sector acolytes and adherents to hold your money, don't invest. So you get a pincer movement to stall the economy. Don't get sidetracked with 200 and 300 taxes and so on. Don't get sidetracked. And I'm happy you haven't. I'm happy you haven't. Because they give the impression as if taxes and fees are a bad thing. They give that impression. And they come in like knight in shining armor, riding the white horse, removing these taxes. What has it done to the average person? I said to you 1,000 times, and you know it. Unless you have a situation that is highly competitive, akin to perfect competition in the literature. You have a large number of small units, business units, such that when you pull a tax, it will result in the lowering of the price. Don't matter how much taxes you take off, that you say you meet and you take off, it will not rebound to the benefit of the consumer because there is no compunction to do so. None. There's no compunction to do so. None whatsoever. And all the consumers here will tell you of their experience. You glorify, I take off this tax, I reduce what? The price ain't going down, it gone up. The only thing that they could account for really, is gasoline. It's gasoline. And right now, since there are no taxes on gasoline, it don't make a difference. When the prices go up, then you have to face it. None whatsoever. So the government is losing revenue and giving it to a small clique. instead to the consumers. Check it and you will see. The only time a consumer benefits directly is when you reduce the income tax, because that's a direct tax. But when you reduce indirect taxes, it is rare for the consumer to benefit. Rare. So all you would have done is transfer income from the government back to a small clique in the private sector. But we must know and be aware. I said this before and I will go through it again, because if they want a showdown where this is concerned, let me give them the showdown. The corner shop show ain't gonna outrank this show here. Because this show brings facts, data, analysis, and most of all, you can be guaranteed that what I am saying here, I am qualified to say it. Now, nobody likes taxation. None. Just as how nobody in like debt. But they say there are only two things that are certain in this life: debt and taxes. So we can't run away from taxation. So the question is, how do we get a tax system that has all the qualities of fairness, equity, efficiency, and all these different things, confidence, and so on? How do we do it? Because it's only then we can be assured that a large number of taxpayers will willingly pay not only their taxes, but their true and fair share of taxes. Guyana has had a perennial problem of taxes and tax payment. And as a result of that perennial problem, we have had a broken system. A system that taxes only a small part of the economy. Whether that economy is divided up between parallel and non-parallel, business versus individual, region versus region, sector versus sector, and so on. And when you have situations in Guyana where you have a high stratification or classification or ethnicization of professions and jobs, it magnifies itself. What do I mean? Well, we know Guyanese of African descent, for whatever reason, for which we're not going to go through here, we know the history, and it left for some time, David Hines was one of them, they gravitate to the public sector. And Guyanese of Indian descent and other descent, except Amerindians, gravitate to business and so on. Before they even get their pay packet, those who gravitate to the public sector, their monies are taken out at source. So they can't dodge taxes. They have to pay. Those who gravitate to the private sector and so on, and by the way, I'm speaking generally here, not to any specific person, they got options. They got options. And it's those options that they exercise that allow them to pay taxes, little taxes, no taxes. And it's unfortunate, like I said, I will take you back over the last 2 decades quickly. None other than Jack Dio recognized the problem with taxes in Guyana, you know. And he added his portfolio around 2009. You had the Forrest Duke report. You had the Forrest Duke report around 2009. Right? Where a study on the Guyana tax system was performed. People submitted the report. Right? And that was post introduction of VAT. That report was brought in, and like everything else in this country, nothing was done. It was thrown on the shelf. President Ramatar came in. President Ramatar came in, and immediately upon coming in, he set up a tax reform committee in December of 2011. And he set it up based, obviously you would have heard or seen the Duke report, the prior Duke report. But it all agreed that the tax system was in need of urgent, deep-seated reforms. In fact, commenting on this in his column in Stabrook News of February 26, 2012, Professor Clive Thomas said, quote, "So serious are the defects in our tax system that I do not believe that Guyana will be fubbed with anemic or banal recommendations from the Tax Reform Committee." This is the Tax Reform Committee that was set up by President Ramatar. He continued, quote, the tax base should be made as broad as possible given the desired goals of the tax system," end of quote. All the time, they were pointing to a basic weakness of our tax system in that it was too narrow. And as a result of taxing a narrow base, you have to have high marginal rates. You have to have high marginal rates. So Professor Thomas wasn't very sanguine about the report of the Tax Reform Committee because he recognized immediately that the composition of the committee alone will suggest that there wasn't a seriousness about tax reform in Guyana, about reforming the tax system in Guyana. In fact, he called for a national commission on tax to be set up as opposed to a tax reform committee. Nobody knows what happened to that committee. Nobody knows what happened to its recommendations. But by the time President Ramatar exited government in May of 2015, we know for sure that Professor Thomas's observations and conclusion came through. Nothing much was done. So you continue to have a deformed tax system characterized by a narrow tax base, tax inefficiency, and so on. But everybody playing happy-go-along. Everybody playing happy. And nobody wants to build the cat, which is far too many sectors. Far too many sectors. Far too many businesses are not paying taxes or not paying the true taxes. But it's all well and good to have an income tax system that directly taxes at source the income of the owners, large numbers of whom are Guyanese of African descent. There's always an unwillingness to spread the tax base because it will attack supporters of the PPP. I alluded on this program before to a study, a basic study that was done by GRA, I think it was circa 2016, or I think it was wrong 2016, or it could have been 2017, where it was shown that in the depressed region of Region 10, they were paying more taxes than Region 6. Yes. The depressed region of Region 10, where unemployment was in excess of 60%. Unemployment. And where the only types of employment known was largely in government agencies. They were paying more taxes than in Region 6. So when we came into power in May of 2015, recognizing the deformity of the tax system, recognizing the injustice of the tax system, recognizing the poor administration of taxes in this country, we set about to do something about it. And in 2015, our government established another tax reform committee, only this time headed by professionals. Professionals. And let us remind ourselves who are the members of this tax committee. It was headed by Professor Maurice Odle. And let us be clear, Odle was identified by the then Dragon government to replace Clarence Ellis, who was then the alternate executive director at the Inter-American Development Bank in 2015. For no reason, you know, Clarence, everybody knows Clarence. He was the consummate professional. Consummate. And he was no lackey of Barnum. In fact, he got into a scrape with Barnum and he left. He left in 1982. So Professor Maurice Odle was identified and he declined. So at least Professor Maurice Odle was in the good books. Maybe he went in the bad books after he declined. So he was identified as the chairman of that tax reform committee. And other members were Christopher Ram, Godfrey Stacia, who is now the head of GRA, and Thomas Singh, the same Thomas Singh who did the study for the ILO on the sugar industry. The same Thomas Singh. So they can't claim, oh, we took people who are acolytes of the government and and so on. Those names I named there, you tell me if they were acolytes of the government. We didn't want acolytes. We wanted a professional job done, a job that once it was completed, we were going to implement. We were no longer going to put studies to dust and so forth. They completed their job in January of 2016. It was too late for us to discuss those findings in cabinet and to implement them in the 2016 budget. But definitely the 2017 budget, which was presented in December of 2016. Those measures, a number of those measures would find their way. So the committee report was presented and discussed. But there were some concerns about some recommendations which might have had some problems in society. So another effort was made, this time with the IMF CARTAC, Caribbean Technical Assistance Center in Barbados. They were invited to do yet another study. They were invited to do yet another study. And they completed their work within 3 months because they were gathering the Duke study, the tax reform study of Morris Odell, and all the others and so on. And they come up with a study. And quite frankly, a lot of what they recommended actually mirrored closely what was recommended by the Tax Reform Committee. All these studies are there. Just like how we said, go to Jordan, annex anybody. These studies are there. These studies are there. And you could read them. And you could see the recommendations. And so. And so in the 2017 budget, we decided to make a radical, not a gradual, a radical change in the tax system. When you have a cold, you can go for OTC medicine, over-the-counter medicine. But when that cold has become pneumonia, you can't use OTCs. You have to do radical intervention. Incisive intervention. And that is what we took in 2017. And say what you want about the coalition government, it never shied away. It never shied away from doing what happened to be, what had to be done. I mean, people meet me and telling me in quiet how we were bold enough to do. The PPP would have never have done it. I said, but look, somebody has to belly cap. We have taken a lot of flack for things that we did. We've taken a lot of flack for sugar industry. Sugar industry bleeding. And people are telling you, keep it open. Keep it open. One day it's going to come back. When we did things to the sugar industry, you hear we were bad. Rice industry, we did things for rice industry, right? Natural resource fund, we set up. Try to make it as apolitical as possible. But people now telling us quietly how we were bold enough to do these things. You know how many businessmen came to us and told us finally we were bringing some equity into the tax system. You know how many? Ask how many of them, as a result of our tax measures, were breathing easily. We did a lot of work on the smuggling, cigarettes, alcohol, all these things. We did a lot of work on it. They were breathing easily. Easily, they were breathing. But look at what's happening today. Look where smuggling is today. Look where smuggling is today. Back at record levels. They're smuggling all kinds of things. Chicken, beef, pork, eggs. You name it, they're smuggling it. And look who is smuggling it. The same set of people. Yeah, I often are tired of the fact that when things were banned in Guyana in the 70s, early 80s, as I showed last week, it is African Guyanese who, using ingenuity and initiative, went out there and started trading. But it's unfortunate that today you can hardly point to a successful African Guyanese business that came out of trading. You could hardly point to such a business. And for the large part, they continue to remain vendors. They haven't moved on. The whole pavement and so on, cluttered with vendors of African descent. Whereas the large businesses and the merchants and the importance of peas and garlic and potato and all these different things are Guyanese of Indian descent. So while we had the initiative and so on, we didn't have that to go the extra mile. But that's we're going to continue to talk about that, right? Because those are real stories, right? So 2017 saw a substantial revision of the tax system. Substantial revision of the tax system. And as I indicated on this program a while back, that when I was opening something at DDL on the East Bank there, my good friend Komal invited me to open it while I was minister. I think it was 2018, I think it was, or 2018 or 2019. And that he was extolling the virtues of his company and his good administration and so on. But he didn't mention the fact that, one, we had drastically reduced the taxes on local fermented wines and so on, for which DDL was thinking. We had drastically reduced the corporate income tax to 25%, one of the lowest in the whole Caribbean. We had done that, for which DDL will benefit as a manufacturing company. And we had drastically reduced smuggling of particular liquor, for which DDL will benefit. And he had to admit after he went back to the podium that these were successful measures in allowing them to breathe. We had a single-minded purpose that the hard-working businessmen should not be damaged by an underground economy that was involved in smuggling, that was involved in tax evasion, and everything else. Don't matter who they were affiliated to, politically or otherwise.
When you're young, you're young. When you're old, you're old. When you're young, you're strong. When you're old, you're bold. When you're young, you're frisky, frisky. Don't depend on anybody. As soon as the old is stepping, it's a different song you're singing. It's scratch me back for me. Scratch me back for me. Rock me back for me. Hand respect for me. I want some water. Give me some water. I want some water. Give me some water. Rock me knee for me. Come make me tea for me. This is misery. Oh, let's have no remedy. No, 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 no. When you're young, oh yeah. When you're old, you're old. When you're young, you're strong. When you're old, you're old. When you're young, you're watching sweet eye. You want to show off your neat eye. When you're old, you watch with sad eyes. People think you're watching bad eyes. Scratch my back for me. Scratch my back for me. Come rock my neck for me. Hand me specs for me. I want some tablet. Give me tablet. I want me tablet. Give me tablet. Come rock me knee for me. Make me tea for me. This is misery. Oh, let's have no remedy. No, 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 no. When you're
you're young, oh yeah, yeah. When you're old, you old. When you're young, you're strong. When you're old, you old. When you're young, you don't feel any pain. You could jump over a ravine. When you get up old and feeble, you can't even boast about it. Scratch my back for me. Scratch my back for me. Come rock my neck for me. Have respect for me. I want some porridge. Give me some porridge. I want some porridge. Give me some porridge. Come rock my neck for me. Make me tea for me. Hand me the pussy. Old age have no remedy. When you're young, you're young. When you're old, you're old. When you're young, you're strong. When you're old, you're old. When you're young, you pick and choosing who you want to call you darling. The same ones you used to turn down, you wish they could pass and look wrong. Scratch my back for me. Scratch my back for me. Come rock my neck for me. Have respect for me. I want some water. Give me some water. I want some water. Give me some water. Rub me knee for me. Make me tea for me. This is misery. Oh, let's have no remedy. Oh, no, no. Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no.
When you're young, you're young. When you're old, you're cool. Mighty shadow there for your morning and your morning. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It is the 11th day of July in the year 2025. Yes. I'm getting there. And I'm grateful to be getting there. Tomorrow is my birthday anniversary, you know. This is why I'm in a kind of mood, you know. It's a mixture of moods. I'm happy to be getting there. What the heck is happening in this country is I ain't able to do this shit for 5 more years. And I ain't talking about live. I want to live. I want to live for 5 more years and many, many more 5 years. But I can't do this shit for 5 more years. Coming in every day and pointing out what's wrong with the government and pointing out solutions and asking for solutions and reminding you that the only way for Ghana to go, the PPP must go. Come on, I ain't intend doing this for 5 more years. Damn. I think I could barely make it to September 1st. September 1st can't come fast enough for me. Regardless of the result, and I expect the result to be in favor of us, the coalition. But let come and done, let me know what it's going to be. If we got to break up and done, let break up and done. The whole man suspense, man. How have you been? How was it yesterday? How was it last night? How did you wake or awake this morning? What are your sentiments? What is your mood like? What were you able to achieve yesterday? Smart goals? Did you set them? And if you set them, have you crafted the plan as how to achieve them? And if you crafted the plan as to how to achieve them, how are you getting along? Tell me. I want to know. I want to know. I really want to know. Yeah, you could tell me, you know. It's Free Talk Friday. Yes, it is Free Talk Friday. In case you all didn't realize, it's Free Talk Friday. And we got enough things to talk about, you know. We have a whole lot of things to talk about. Including what the PPP is doing with your money. So maybe you could start there, you know. I know what the PPP doing with your money. You know what the PPP is doing with the nation's money. Terence, tell your mother say good morning. How's she doing? Ask your father for me. Why you didn't use a condom? Huh? Could you sort that out for me? Huh? Terence, tell your mother I said good morning. And ask your father why you didn't use a condom. Because if they had done that, or even the coitus interruptus method, coitus interruptus, you know what is coitus interruptus? No, Terence, you ain't bright enough. You gotta go back down at the bottom of the gutter and ask them what's coitus interruptus. But I was saying, as I was saying, if they had used the coitus interruptus, then we would not have been faced with dealing with such an idiot like yourself. We would not have had to be burdened by your presence. So I wonder if I could put you in and make you over. In the streets, they got a particular word we would have used instead of make. Right? But we could talk about that. In the meantime, between time, I see somebody was asking Jordan yesterday. Not yesterday, the same morning. It's one of them PPP crabs. I'm looking for the crab. I like call the crabs by their name. Right? I want to call the crabs by the name. This particular crab is asking, under which government the Petro-Caribe collapsed? Under which government the Petro-Caribe collapsed? I ain't finding the crab name, but I got the answer for the crab. And the crab could go back over by the PPP and find out. Under which government the Petro-Caribe collapsed? Now, let me say this to you. I don't know if many of you understand or remember or know of the Petro-Caribe. But the Petro-Caribbean deal was a deal that Venezuela made with Caribbean countries. That is not Caribbean, but it is in the CARICOM thing. So Guyana is broadly considered a Caribbean country. So Venezuelan government said, listen, we are good neighbors, man. We want to be nice to you. We want your support against the U.S. because the U.S. is sanctioning us left, right, and center. And so we are going to make you all a deal. We are going to give you oil, as in fuel, gasolina, in exchange for commodities that you are manufacturing, you're producing. In Guyana, it was rice. Ask me what the other territories and countries. I didn't pay attention to them. I don't know what they're doing. But we are going to give you fuel at a reduced cost. And in exchange, we're going to take some of your products. In Ghana, we're going to take your rice. But the sweetheart part of the deal is, when we give you the fuel, you don't have to pay for it right away. You do not have to pay for it right away. As a matter of fact, the money that you will ask for this fuel, you will take it and invest in the well-being of your people. We ain't charging you no kind of interest. Small things, if anything at all. That was the Petro-Caribbean deal in essence. Right? Good. Across the Caribbean. But we're dealing with Guyana. This forecast under which government it collapsed. I want to say insinuating that the Petro-Caribbean deal collapsed under the coalition government. So I went to the newspaper because I know this thing was discussed publicly. And so I found in Guyana Chronicle, no, I'm lying, not Guyana Chronicle, Kaicho News, July 10th, 2015. When did the coalition come to government? Was it March 2nd, 2015? Is that when the elections were held? March 2nd, 2015? I think so. If it is not so, y'all could remind me because I get him big, and some things I don't walk around with. I storehouses or things, and I could find them on the internet. So I'm here, March is month 3, July is month 7. I'm here 4 months after coming to office. Kaicho wrote this about the Petro-Caribbean deal. Guyana-Venezuela rice deal collapse. Previous government was notified but kept silent. PPP denies claim. That's a byline. PPP denies claim. Prime Minister has evidence. So it was written by Kiana Wilbur. Let's go. With the sugar industry being up to its neck in debt and performing poorly over the years, the recent news that the booming rice could be poised for a very troubling future has left many in the new government worried. It has essentially forced them to redouble their efforts to find corrective measures as quickly as possible. Government has, however, vowed that everything will be done to ensure that hundreds of farmers are not made to suffer due to the turn of events set to take full effect later this year. Finance Minister Winston Jordan told this newspaper in an interview that during his recent visit to Venezuela, he was told in no uncertain terms that that country will no longer be interested in renewing the oil for rice barter under the Petro-Caribbean deal, which will come to an end on November 16 next. He said that Guyana was told to find new markets for its rice. Venezuela's decision regarding the rice deal comes at a time when it is claiming sovereignty over Guyana's waters since the significant oil find by American oil giant ExxonMobil just 100 miles off of the Stabroek block. The issue is one which has seen the government displaying complete resistance to Venezuela's declaration and even its rhetoric over the past few weeks. Jordan had said that Venezuela claimed it had hinted to the past administration as well as to top officials in the Guyana Rice Development Board that Guyana needs to start looking at other markets. Just like the EU did with sugar, they don't listen. Based on records over the past 2 to 3 years, Jordan said that it would show that Venezuela was scaling back on the volume of rice it was taking from Guyana. Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu also took to social media to voice his opinion on the topic. On his Facebook profile, the first vice president also said that there is documentary evidence that Venezuela's decision was communicated to former Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Leslie Ramsamy. There's the laptop man. Former Minister of Foreign Affairs Caroline Rodriguez Burkett. Wasn't that the alien mouth woman? And Guyana's ambassador in Caracas, Geoffrey De Silva. The Prime Minister said, "It is sad and inexcusable that the Guyanese people were not advised of this by the former PPP government. Questions will now have to be asked as to whether the Guyanese people and the thousands of rice farmers in particular who could be affected were being held hostage by the PPP silence purely for the purposes of narrow politicking." He said too that it will have to be considered whether Venezuela's position of the non-renewal of the Petro-Caribbean barter agreement is indeed an act of economic sanction against Guyana. Nagamutu said that government will explore fully
all options to ensure that farmers and those dependent on Guyana's rice industry are not adversely affected. The People's Progressive Party Civic is, however, denying completely that it hid this information from the Guyanese populace. It is now blaming the Granger-led administration for Venezuela's decision to not renew the barter arrangement. In a missive to the media last night, the opposition party said that it noted Nagamoto's absurd accusation that the PPPC was aware of the imminent collapse of the deal and failed to inform the Guyanese public, implying that the PPPC is somehow responsible for this state of affairs. The party said that what the Prime Minister does not want to admit is that the non-renewal of the rice agreement has to do with the rapid deterioration of relations between Guyana and Venezuela since the Granger administration assumed office. The party said that it has always held firm to the 1899 Arbitral Award, which definitively settled Guyana's border with Venezuela and has always received the support from CARICOM and the Commonwealth on this matter. It opined, however, that controversies and disagreements cannot be resolved through belligerence or name-calling. In this regard, it referred to comments made by President David Granger referring to Venezuela as the monkey on Guyana's back. The party added, the Granger administration appears to eschew dialogue, and this is evidenced by Foreign Minister Carl Grenick saying to the President of Venezuela, go talk with CARICOM, while only days before announcing that his government will send a team to Venezuela to negotiate a long-term rice agreement. This is some kind of distorted diplomacy, which was bound to yield the result of realized. Notwithstanding its views on the manner in which the Granger administration is handling the territorial controversy, the PPPC sought to make pellucid that on every occasion that a new rice agreement was signed, the Venezuelan government informed that it could not guarantee an agreement for the next year, as that country too was developing its rice industry. In spite of this, the PPPC said that on every single occasion, it was able to negotiate a new agreement with generous terms and conditions while it looked for additional markets during its time in office. Indeed, the last agreement was signed during the period when PPPC had announced that it was no longer interested in pursuing the UN Good Officer process and will be reviewing the other options under the Geneva Agreement, a position the Venezuelan government did not support. Let it be clear that the information provided when the 2015 agreement was signed with respect to no guarantee for a new agreement was nothing new, and there was even agreement to continue discussions as was done in the past. You got the gist of the matter there. I don't need to read the entire article. Right? So in short, the PPP admitted every agreement we signed, these people told us there was no guarantee. Just like the EU said to them with sugar, we are going to remove the preferential market, and so we are giving you money to diversify and reorganize the sugar industry. But they didn't do that. Gaisuco didn't see $1 of that money, at least not at the time when it was given for reorganizing Gaisuco. Likewise, the Petrocaribbean funds or the Petrocaribbean deal, there was clear indication that it was coming to an end under the PPP. But because of political and election and the PPP unpatriotic behavior, they never declared to this nation that, listen, the Venezuela rice deal is under threat. Venezuela is saying they ain't going to renew it. The coalition had to go into office and find that out. Just as they had to find out that the Surinamese beverage company, is it SM Jalil, I think they were called, had judgment against the Guyana government in the sums of hundreds of millions of dollars. Just as how they had to find out that there were several judgments against the PPP in government, where the court awarded large sums as compensation to the people who approached the court, the complainants. And the courts ruled against the PPP government, and the government never paid. But when the coalition went in there it is, they met with all of these long-standing, outstanding judgments that had to be paid, and the PPP didn't pay them, and so the coalition was now forced to pay them. I remember the famous case that was about to see Mr. Jordan committed to prison. It was one that the PPP left behind. So this crab who come asking nonsense, that's your answer. The collapse started, was far advanced under the PPP. And there's the thing, when you inherit a country, through elections, when you inherit a government, you inherit the good, bad, and the ugly. The coalition in MOPE, they went to work immediately, just as they had to find out money, billions, millions of dollars, hundreds of millions to dig out Gaisuko within days of taking office. And that is why when somebody challenged me the other day to give a guarantee that the new government will do this and the new government will do that, I said to them clearly, don't set me up. Because while it is the desire of the new government, or the government in waiting to do these things, only until you get into the seat of office, you will see your reality. Only then you will see your reality. Only then you will know whether the coffers are full or empty. And as I'm talking about Petrocaribe, do you remember that there were several GIDB officers who were taken before the court? Huh? Because for charges dismissed against GIDB officials, GIDB for a case against some former officials, for charges dismissed PPP lawmaker, former GIDB official freed. Good. Right? Do you remember that several officers of the GIDB, I'll give me a minute. Aye. Talk quick, I have my program, so you got to talk quick. And why you didn't tell me when you left in yesterday? All right, I can't address any of the till about 9 o'clock. I cannot address any of that until about 9. Good. All right, cool. Good. Yeah, I could mind my business. No worries, sir. Right? So I'm saying, do you remember that there were several officials of the GIDB who were placed before the court for fraud? What was the fraud in relation to? The very Petrocaribe funds. Because when the Petrocaribe account was supposed to have a large amount of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, when the coalition got into office, it barely had a sprinkling of cash inside. And when they did the forensic audit, they found out that large-scale fraud was taking place at GIDB with that money. The only reason, because they with me, I was rushing through the headlines now that said the case was dismissed. The only reason the case or cases were dismissed because the prosecutor didn't turn up. And why I remember that? Yeah, I want to read it. I'm going to read it for you. At least a part of it. And then I'm going to give you all a further commentary on that. Charge former GIDB manager, Jagnarayan Singh. Charge former permanent secretary of Ministry of American Affairs, Nigel Dharam Lal. 2-inch. Charge General Secretary of Rice Producers Association, Dharam Kumar Siraj. You recognizing all of these people? Charge permanent secretary of Finance Ministry of Agriculture, Prema Rup Narayan. Y'all remember them? Charge former deputy general manager, GIDB, Mohanlal Ramraj charged former general manager of Guyana Oil Company, Badri Prasad. I want y'all to check and see how many of these are still in the PPP government or in the employ of the PPP government. And y'all gonna realize birds of a feather flock together. No show of Soku prosecutor sees $362 million for charges being thrown out against 6 former GIDB officials. Y'all want to continue reading? The absence of Special Prosecutor Lawrence Harris has resulted in Senior Magistrate Laron Daly dismissing several for charges against 6 former high-ranking officials of the Guyana Rice Development Board. The 6 officials charged were former general manager of the Guyana Rice Development Board. I gave all of them names just now, I ain't going back there. This afternoon, when the matter was called in the courtroom of Magistrate Daly, the court orderly summoned the special prosecutor. No one answered. This prompted Attorney at Law Anil Nandlal and Glenn Hanuman, who are representing the defendants, making a request for the matters to be dismissed. The lawyers stressed the fact that apart from today, the special prosecutor has been absent from court on several other occasions. The magistrate, after listening to the lawyers, dismissed all the matters against the defendants on the basis of want of prosecution. The charges allege that between January 1 and December 31, 2012, with intent to defraud, they omitted or concurred to be omitted $77.3 million from the general ledger of the GIDB's Republic Bank account. Similarly, between January 1 and December 31 of the years 2013, 2014, and 2015, with intent to defraud the entity, they omitted or concurred to be omitted from the said Republic Bank account $9.7 million, $130 million, and $145 million for the 3 respective years. The defendants were all out on $500,000 bail, each pending the hearing and determination of the trial. GIDB is the authority charged with overseeing the rice industry throughout the country. Upon entering government in May 2015, the David Granger-led administration immediately ordered a number of forensic audits to determine the health of the state of agencies. With regards to the GIDB report, it was noted that over a 3 to 4 year period, more than $500 million US from the Petro-Caribe proceeds would have passed through the accounts of the entity. Among some of the anomalies found were loans without proper paperwork or promissory notes. There were other instances of persons in the agency using GIDB's money to trade in foreign currency. The losses for the government would have been significant, especially if the money was traded for less than it should have been. The Auditor General and the forensic audit reports have all pointed to severe deficiencies in the manner the monies of the state have been handled by the entities. I tell you all already, people ask me the question, why do I respond to these idiots? Wayne Archer, I know there is some, so you best check your device. Why do I respond to these idiots? I respond to these idiots because it is a teachable moment. Even if you didn't know, it is an opportunity to remind you that all we got in the government, all we have had in the PPP government, from 92 to current, a set of kleptocrats, a criminal cabal masquerading as ministers of this and ministers of that. Right? Wayne Archer? Right? So the evidence is there in Kaitro News, and you can go and do further research. And I'll tell you, at the time when this case was dismissed, I was in the employ of the government as a communication officer at DPI, I think. The first thing I ask is, how much money was paid to he who did not turn up? That case was a classic example. of how and why the Granger administration was not able to prosecute successfully a lot of the people who they knew did wrong to this nation when they went into office. Because while the PPP was removed from government, the PPP enablers were not removed. A lot of middle-level managers and even high-level managers across this country remained in the service of the PPP when the coalition was in office. How else was the 1994 charges able to be dragged out so long in court, so many years? 4 or 5 years, just fraud charges, fraud charges. This is not more the case that you gotta get jury and all of that. This is a fraud charge, or these are fraud charges. How did it take 4 or 5 years before? How was it allowed to drag out like that? Because the powers that be were bent on ensuring that Ali didn't face justice. The law book case was responsible for prosecutions, man, not the DPP. And the Office of Prosecutors General, whatever they call it. You're telling me that these cases couldn't be called earlier than they were called, or more frequent than they were called? I am saying that a lot of these cases were allowed to peter out, go through the years with the hope that they could get rid of the coalition government and these cases will disappear. And a lot of these special prosecutors weren't only on the payroll of the government, but they were also on the payroll of the opponents of the government. And so as far as I'm concerned, that was a clear-cut case. All of them should have seen jail. How did they escape that? The prosecutor didn't turn up, the special prosecutor. If I'm not lying, the excuse given, I hope I'm not confusing that special prosecutor with another, was that the Attorney General's office, which was responsible for paying him, did not pay him. And he had said to them, if y'all don't pay me, I ain't going to court. Right? And so when the case was called and they were calling him, he didn't respond to them. Dennis McKenzie, let's not mix up the matter. At the time, and it wasn't AG, he was, all of them were on the opposition bench when that case was dismissed. A lot of collusion. Everybody has blamed Granger for not jailing Roger Khan. But I'm going to ask this question, I'm going to ask it again. Which policeman was collecting evidence against the Commissioner of Police during the crime spree of the 2000s where Roger Khan was Commissioner of Police? And y'all don't tell me a dunce. He wasn't sitting in the seat of Commissioner of Police. But he was Commissioner of Police. Just like it is alleged, Amir Ahmad, no? Yes, just like it is alleged, Amir Ahmad is Commissioner of Police. He instructs police. He controls police behavior and action. And so I'm asking, where was the evidence coming from to prosecute Roger Khan? When at the time of the crime spree, the police were working for Roger Khan. Huh? They got one of them like call and ask about the murder of those 3 guys on the seawall. And he wants to put it at the foot of the coalition. Yeah, the coalition was in government or political office. The coalition ain't controlling nothing, if you ask me. Because again, those middle-level managers remain right there. The crime chief was the PPP crime chief. A lot of the people who, even though promoted under the coalition, came through the ranks under the PPP. And they are their own allegiances. Man in the street will tell you that that murder resulted from bad business among police and thieves. Word in the street told me years ago that the crime scene investigator said to his superiors, based on the evidence I see on the ground, there is murder. And once I write the report, people are going to go to jail. You know what they did to that rank? Immediate transfer. In fact, it wasn't even immediate transfer. His life came under threat and he disappeared. And they searched long and hard for all at his relatives' home and so on and so forth and so on. I guess eventually he decided he ain't run no more. And he went back to his job. Immediate transfer. According to one of my sources, God rest the dead, he was given a rank and told to shut up. Never talk about the story again. Submit every single piece of evidence that you collect to this office. You think the coalition in government come September 1st could go and find any records on that investigation? When Bond must be done bury? That is how the PPP operates. And that is how they operated. So we are seeing a lot of glaring crimes being committed under the PPP. I remember as election results and so on were being read, the videos of ministers or former ministers at the time removing boxes upon boxes of documents and so on. What do you think that they're doing? Francine, I think you're missing the boat. He could still be charged. There is no statute of limitation. On what evidence you're going to prosecute and successfully prosecute him? I'm asking that question. You think you could successfully prosecute him on the words of Sean Hines? I don't think so. It will take more than that. But Guyanese have to ask themselves if that is what they want to live with. That kind of criminality. Up until now, there was an accident, I think, at LBI area there, with the son of a minister of government, right? Somebody died, right? Was it the son or nephew? Some relative. Have you heard of that matter coming to any logical conclusion in the courts? Huh? Now talk to me. We have to deal with reality. We have to deal with reality. There is a need for total police reform in this country. I'm looking to the Aubrey Norton coalition government to get it done. Because the PPP ain't going to do it. I'm looking for justice for Adriana Young. I'm looking to the Aubrey Norton government to do it. Because the PPP ain't going to do it. And they know how important that matter is to the Guyanese populace. And so the other day they sent one of them own Blanham, I think, to say that the matter is still open. To try to kerfuffle we. But we beg, but we ain't stupid. Some of we like behave like we stupid, but we ain't stupid. If we want a state that thrives on the rule of law, we gotta get rid of the PPP. And the young people, I'm saying again, the young people who seem to believe that all is well and good because the PPP giving them a gutter contract, they best sit back and ask what their freedom or what their life is worth. The young people who tell themselves, according to Azruddin Mohammed, he doesn't need anything. He lives fairly comfortable. The young people who believe that, sit back and ask yourself, if that really is true. Maslow's hierarchy of needs tells me that when you go through all the different levels and you reach your self-actualization, even then you don't want to stop achieving. Because here what happened? I moved from nothing to something according to him, youth man. So I never had a bicycle. I get a bicycle now, I move from nothing to something. But I want to improve on a bicycle, I want a motorbike. And for motorbike, I want a car. I might get one of them low level, affordable thing. Second hand perhaps. From that second hand, I want a new one. And then I want a new model. And if Azruddin was satisfied with his status or his achievement or his comfort living, you think he was going to compromise himself by calling Ali and Jagdio and ask them to collude with him to pay allegedly less duties than was to be paid on the Lamborghini? If you're so comfortable in your living and you don't need anything, then naturally you will pay your taxes. Whatever it is assessed to be, you ain't gonna call no friend to help you to evade taxes, allegedly. I said the young people, why you are reason like that? What do you think? As you didn't want to stop at a Lamborghini? Look at Elon Musk. He's in space now. You don't think as you didn't want to be in space too? Huh? They have to understand the nature of humankind. And don't let it comfort you and tell you they got enough. They never got enough. You know, sometimes I just comfort myself and say, listen, Amsterdam, there's one thing you must accept in this life. Politicians can steal. They put them in positions, they can steal. What you have to do is put systems in place to minimize how much they will steal. Or make a conscious decision in your head that, hey, all of them going to steal, but this set going to steal less than that set. And even if stealing this set will consider our needs and our wants as against the other set that only consider themselves. That's the reality. Somebody is saying the young people must believe that Azure ain't going to be giving handouts all the time. Never. It never happened in government, anything will happen. There's one certainty. The coalition has committed itself. You're going to get cash transfers, direct cash transfers by law. It's not the whims of fancies of anybody waking up and feeling like giving you something. It will be legislated that Guyanese will be given direct cash transfer from the oil revenue as oil is produced. I would rather bet on them than somebody waking up and realize it's close to the election, like give them $100,000 cash grant. We gotta be woke. You think it's y'all alone getting $100,000 cash grant? You think you're so special? Word on the street is that the Surinamis are being offered $20,000 Guyana dollars, $100 approximately, to just get on a boat in Suriname and come across to the quarantine to vote on election day. $20,000 to just turn up to vote on elections day. Turn up, be given an ID card, go and vote, imposter voting. Just $20,000 to that. And then they get boarding and they get lodging. Hotel rooms are booked for them and food are prepped for them. And they get something else. I promise that they too will benefit from cash grant being given to Guyanese. That is how confident the PPP is of winning elections. That they pay Surinamis to come over to quarantine and vote. They're so confident that they're paying $10,000, approximately $50 for people to attend their rally on Sunday. $10,000 for you to attend the rally. 10,000. Let's just envelope 10,000. The 10-day workers are balling. They're balling. And sometimes I want to cost them, but then at the same time, you know, people got needs. And you got to understand the difficulties. They've been coerced. If you don't turn up at the rally, if we don't see you at the rally, you out like so. All of y'all will get y'all little gutter contracts. If truth be told, y'all talk the truth. You got to turn up at the rally and make yourself known, and you can't go alone. You got to turn up with at least 5. That is what the contracts that were given out to Buxton and so on. Those are preconditions. Is that the government you want to live with? They always coerce you. Your freedom is sold, basically. You're no longer an individual that can make your own decisions as to whether or not you want to go to a rally, a political rally. I see Audrey Brown asking and somebody else asking, Denise, so what you are going to do about it? What you want us to do about it? Might sound rude, but what would you like us to do about it? How much can we do about it? Again, the PPP in their own coercive way. Y'all listen to that fault for the last several weeks, keep reiterating and keeping in the public domain is $5 million fine and five years in jail for obstructing a voter. Is $5 million fine and 5 years in jail for obstructing. You know why? Because they expect Guyanese, especially coalition supporters, to challenge imposter voters when they go into the poll. And so they're drumming it in we head. If you are there to stop them, y'all could go to jail for 5 years and y'all could be faced with a fine for $5 million. Well, hey, God forbid. But I'm going to stop them. I'm going to challenge them. How many other citizens are willing to do that? This is not y'all. This is not what y'all going to do about it. This is what we will do about it as citizens. Every citizen has a right to defend their democracy. That's what we have to do. Every citizen has a right to defend their democracy. And so every one of us has to be a watchguard for that democracy. Even the poll workers. Or you could come to me and can't talk a word of English and telling me about your Guyanese and you come for vote. But Guyanese have to grow a conscience. You have to grow a conscience that says patriotism and nationalism must trump all. Why am I going to be an electoral official and allow a foreigner to come and corrupt the election of my country? I ain't got no sense of pride of nationhood. But the PPP is so confident of winning the election that is why they're spending our oil money to bribe and corrupt people to go in. I see the new fad in town. They got 3 big buses. I don't know how you 3 big vehicles like the yellow buses. Y'all remember the yellow buses? With the truck front and so on. Driving around the city yesterday with LCD screens on them. Advertising the PPP rally and what else? Once somebody check with Stacia and the rest of them at GRA and tell us who the importers of those vehicles are, number one. Number two, how much duties were paid on them. Because I know they ain't cheap. And because they ain't cheap, the duties in a little bit. But I guarantee you, they pay nothing or next to nothing. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. I didn't intend talking so long, but y'all tickle me. 6225933 is the number to call. Tomorrow is my birthday. Let me start celebrating today. So all those of you who want to buy a case of beer, a case of Guinness, and so on and so forth, start sending you things. I'm going to put up the cash app information. Here is our early morning friend. They put it for call first. And I'm going to accept the call. I don't care what y'all think. Caller, you're live. You're on.
Good morning, my buddy. How you doing this morning? Thank you for taking my call on FREETALK Friday. Man, when I don't talk to you, you just call me all kind of name. I just don't want to go down the road like that with you and call you names stuff. But you know, we're big people. So a couple of minutes ago, you were mentioning that the PPP paying and threatening people to vote to help your cause. Why you don't bring these people on your show and let them tell you that, your listeners that, listen, I was paid or offered so much of money to vote for the PPP is going to really help your cause. Are you there?
You see why that's got for call you all kind of name, including jackass?
Yeah, I could.
I'm going to tell you why. You asked me to respond to you. Let me respond. You know, that's why let's call you all kind of name, because you're a very simplistic person in your reasoning. Now the PPP is already coercing me and telling me if I don't turn up at the rally, I ain't get no contract forget, or I ain't get no future contract forget. You think I want to go on any television program for them to know that I'm giving out this information? Then I certainly ain't getting nothing.
Mr. Amsterdam, you're on a national program this morning. You're reaching out to your supporters. Show them that this is what's going on in the country. This is what the PPP is doing. Show them. You need to convince your voters. You understand me?
Anxiety, don't make a corrupt my salvation.
We can call you names too, and you never like it. But I ask you proper questions. Like I'm telling you, bring the people on your show.
I answer you already, right? Answer you already. You got another question?
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. You have a blessed day.
Go along and drink your soup, man.
No, man. I don't drink soup. Let me tell you something. You see where I'm in my life? I'm comfortable.
Yeah, at the expense of the citizens of this nation. That's the problem I got with y'all.
I am comfortable.
Bye, hey, Galan. Don't make a lose my salvation this morning. I ain't even know if I got any. Listen, you know this bull. This is what aggravates me. This thing that's boiling my blood. This simplistic dumbass reasoning. You are telling me that people already threatened. Don't come on any program to highlight that they've been threatened. Listen, everybody's not Kidaki Amsterdam. I'm calling you on. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Amsterdam, and good morning to all our listeners. I don't know where's anything across 4 in the morning. Let me for last or second to last. I oblige you for the whole day. But anyhow, we get across free and Jesus' blood to sprinkle upon me. However, what you say, these people, the PPP is doing, yes, they are doing it. They're threatening people to come out to the rally, especially them workers who get in the party, how or whatever, where they give them the little chicken feed money, where they giving them, they threaten them, they have to come out to the rally. But however, time will tell. Going to the rally doesn't mean nothing. They could get 50 million thousand people on the rally, and when they come, we're gonna know where the X is going. But all we have to do as scrutineers and office clerk got to be very vigilant. And we got to encourage our people to remember that this is no time for nonsense. This is not a medallios election. It's serious and our future is at risk. Also our children future and our children future. So we have to put our X where it's supposed to be, the coalition, APNU, WPA. So my fellow Guyanese young people, and we got to keep educating our young people because as you did say yesterday, some of them say, no, them I know nothing but this year and that year. We got to let them know, but no time. Let's encourage our young people who know to encourage them about what is going on because not all that glitters is gold. Some they're running behind Muhammad because he could give them a 5,000 or 10,000. He could give them a little cheapness just because he want to make back the money. But a vote for him is a vote for the PPP. Because until now, I hasn't heard he come and condemn the PPP about this voters list. He's very quiet and I wondering why. Because if he want to win his election, he should supposed to be putting some of his energy again towards the voters list, but he's not doing it. So that speaks volume. So my people remember, come election, the X is the coalition, WPA, the other coalition parties, but the most focus is WPA and APNU all the way with Arbin. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Hey, Francine, don't get funny with me, girl. Good. My birthday is celebrated once a year for 1 month. Yeah? Once a year for 1 month. I'm July born. No secret there. I was born the 12th of July. Y'all know that by now. And so my birthday is celebrated 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after. Y'all got a problem, Take it to the bank. But in the meantime, well, last year I made a contribution to this program. Call you on. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, sir. You're talking about the could I talk now or could I continue?
Call you on. Good morning.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks. Yes. Yeah, you're talking about these five the Guyana Rice Board officials who got the charges who were charged and got the charges dropped. And then you wanted to know what's up with what have happened to the prosecutor. That's a question that's a question that should have been answered a long time ago. The thing is that this prosecutor, because his or her responsibility was to be there to represent whatever charges they were bringing against these people, right? And they go against the jurisprudence. This person should be sought, should be found. This prosecutor should be found and should be thoroughly investigated. They should be squeezed so hard, so tight, that they should have been calling names that they don't even know. And that was the problem with Granger administration. I mean, you may want to differ, right? But there were other situations that would have caused this person, caused the government at the day not to bring charges against this prosecutor. But I do think that the evidence was there, and this person should have been found, sought after, and found. and forced to speak the truth and do the right thing, because there's such a thing as, like I said, jurisprudence, in where the officers of the court need to obey the norms and the laws of the court, and this person did not do that, and this is the situation that we have in this country, in where this corruption is so rampant that anybody could be paid, right? A judge could be paid. And I say, going forward, this government, the new government, the incoming government, they have a lot to do in regards to that. And I would suggest that in many cases, like investigations like this here, like that, and many more investigations that I see that are forthcoming in regards to all these monies that are missing with all these contracts that are given out and so on, I do think that the future government should outsource some of this work, some of the investigative work. They should get investigators from other countries, not people over here who are known, that could be actually paid. And even some judges, I think, should the job should be outsourced. You should go to far parts of the world, like Australia, like Madagascar, very very far, places that are not known. So these people could be incorruptible. Of course, everybody could be corrupted, but the thing is that I think that we stand a better chance of bringing these cases to light and getting these cases successfully prosecuted. And I'm holding the future administration. So I'm calling on Mr. Norton, the Prime Minister, Ms. Finance. I'm calling even Professor David Hines and every other person who will be involved in the new government, that we the voters, we will be holding the feet to the fire to make sure that these prosecutions are done, these investigations are done in a correct way, and where justice must be brought to all these cases that we're talking about. Because that going back to that again with that rights marketing board, that five, they should be prosecuted so long, and they should be spending years in prison. And I know that when you squeeze some of these people, they will speak. They will call who the handlers are and who are the intellectual authors. Once proper prosecution are done and they threaten, they're facing years behind bars. So the future administration, I'm just sending out this, I don't want to call it the warrant or this memo, that we will be looking forward for you to be bringing these people, these corrupt officials who stole so much money from this country, bringing them to be investigated, so we could recover some of this money, and it could be going back to the coffers of Guyana, in where it is needed for lots of things like school, education, healthcare, and all these things. So we be holding your feet to the fire, Mr. Norton and crew. Thank you. That's my time.
Good morning, Miss Amsterdam. Good morning, listeners. Hi. Sometimes people just really try your fate. That person who just called asking for evidence, I am sure that he knows what's happening. And as you said, right? As you said, which person is going to come out there to provide evidence? Not all of us are that nationalistic. So the evidence is right there. People on the ground know what's happening. So for him to call and ask you for evidence is nonsense. He's just being foolish because he knows better. I think that he came on the program to upset you and to upset others who are listening. Anyway, moving away from that. Those persons who are taking monies aren't interested in a good governance. They are interested in themselves. And I want to touch a little bit on Muhammad. I don't know who is following him, but they aren't asking themselves the real hard questions. I haven't seen a manifesto from him. I haven't seen him addressing the issues that are affecting the Guyanese nation. He's just there smiling all the time. Now, for the younger generation, I want you to answer this. Do you think that Mr. Mohammed will continue to give handouts all the time? Because a lot of the followers of Mr. Mohammed are just opportunistic. They're looking for something which the government is not giving to them. And so they are drawn to that. But when you finish collecting whatever you collect, how long you think Mr. Mohammed is going to give out things? He's not going to do that all the time. So you as young people need to think carefully how you're going to cast your vote. A happy birthday to you in advance, Kedaki. All I'm going to say is soon come. I'll do my bit when I get there. And for the coalition, just keep up the fight. Just keep doing what you're doing and bringing attention to the nation. We all know the PPP always do is steal our monies. Guyanese need to make a conscious decision to stop it. Have a blessed day.
Thank you for that voice note. Hey, Karen, thank you. Thank you for the body bless up there. Call you on, good morning.
Attention to the nation.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Caller, good morning. We can hear you.
Yes, good morning to you and happy birthday to you, and may you live to see many more and enjoy your family. And let me remind you, when you're old, you're old. When you're young, you're young. It's not me plate, it's you plate. Anyway, move on. My message today is to continue Mr. David Nine's words. Do not waste your vote. Young people, do not waste your vote. You must be able to use these words like David. I was glad when they said, let me go into the house of the Lord, because of what David received. Now, if you waste your vote, you cannot receive nothing like David. I see this video and it is sit well with me, with the ambassador of United States of America. Listen to the words. United States of America represent love, unity, and support, but she's not doing that. She picked up from where Sarah Lynch left off. She only supported the Kulu people. She came out first and said, oh, the Guyanese government and American government is good. The Guyanese government spent billions of dollars, but she never come out and said that the Guyanese people must receive a fair election and put things in place for fair election. No, they should come back now. Jagdio throw them police and soldiers under the bus. Now she come back and said she could bring in police from America for what? No other country don't answer that. Why Jagdio doing that? But this was mentioned and sealed when the official came. The general the state of when Rodeo come what every name, he and the Kulu government sit down and tell him plain that the black people them go on rise up when they lost and kill Kulu people. So that already paid for and mentioned. Just how them tell the guy, Secretary of State, yes, how Chinese man build the road. Young people, this man gonna kill you the next 5 years and you put him there. Because we're in history that any government in Guyana people bringing any police in Guyana for look up election. This government then is wicked. Wicked to black people because they want to keep black man quiet. And when them fraud election, black man will just go home and sleep and take it. Now, not there, I should go and invite African police and to come and overlook our election too, vice versa. And let me see how it's going to play out. And then she said, "Oh, is the commissioner, the police ask for help?" He said, "Again, the commissioner is doing dirty work for them, president and vice president. Police don't have the power to ask for no help. It's government official, just either prime minister or president have the power to ask for help when there is a emergency. There's not emergency. So why the hell she must come out and tell black man? You see, young people, what are you asking for? Forget. Happy birthday again. Enjoy your day tomorrow."
Thank you for that call. Yes, thank you, Karen, and thank you, Alfred, for your blessings. And thank you for all those of you who are sending me birthday greetings. Y'all don't make it dry mouth. Y'all want to get dry mouth birthday? Well, I know. Keep them calls coming. The lines remain home. 6225933 is the number to call. You tune to the Guyanese Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsa. I see some calls popping in and popping out. No fault of mine. I don't know what's happening. So y'all don't blame me. I'm waiting to get them. In the meantime, let me see what other voice notes we have. We have a lot of voice notes, as a matter of fact. So. Call you on. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Good morning, everyone in the Guyanese diaspora. Good morning to all Guyanese. It was a good discussion there by Flash Gordon. You raised some very good points that we should consider what is happening in Guyana. Because at one time you'll see America attempting to help you, and another time you're wondering what's going on. And one time you see Trump is pretending to help America, and the next time he's trying to dismantle the American Constitution. And you wonder, what side of justice is America really on sometimes? So we remember that this ambassador, Thirot, was in Haiti. And I mean, we just don't want to blame her outright, but I mean, if I catch you with the matches in your hand and the smoking gun, then what are we supposed to think? Right? Even someone from the American embassy in Haiti had resigned because of he didn't agree with what was happening there in Haiti, with what this ambassador was facilitating. Right? You remember they were one of the staff that resigned under her, the American staff, because the human rights atrocities that she was administrating over were so abhorrent that he could not stand for it. They had the president of Haiti assassinated, and all these things are happening. She was there, this same ambassador. So now she seems to be attracted to conflict areas. Everywhere she goes, there is nothing but destruction happens. So are they maneuvering Guyana? I don't know how she could be sitting there and not saying something about what Amir Ahmad is doing on the street with long guns, assault rifles. I mean, what is he doing on the street? Sheriff security is supposed to be behind a fence. I mean, clearly, if she's saying that there is a security threat, right, Madam Ambassador, if you're saying that there's a security threat, then what is sheriff security doing on the street? All right? I mean, so that flies in the face of what you're advocating. So it makes us really second guess your whole approach. If you're saying you're trying to have a good post-election and leading up to the election, and sheriff security is obviously out of their jurisdiction, or do they have some new jurisdiction that we aren't being told about? Don't we have the right to know? So what is sheriff security doing on the road? Second point, yesterday, and you mentioned this morning that former President Granger said that Venezuela is like a monkey on Guyana's back. When a monkey is on your back, it's like a drug habit. You can't get away. You know, the monkey is always influencing you to do things under duress that you don't want to do. Why did President Granger say that with regards to Venezuela? How is Venezuela a monkey in our back? Right? I can see that, but maybe the people need to understand that. Mr. Winston Jordan talked about a lot of good things, and you this morning, Mr. Amsterdam, talked about fraud. I would like to ask Mr. Winston Jordan, with his expertise. Mr. Winston Jordan, if you could help us with regards to Guyana's public debt. If you could talk about Guyana's public debt from 1992 to 2015, right before you came in with the time of Ramatar, and how much of that debt percentage-wise was incurred by the PPP, all right? So the public debt and the public debt burden. Second thing, Mr. Jordan, how much of that public debt is owed by whom? Who owns? Who owns? Who is the owner of Guyana's public debt? Right? Because after a while, a country can't pay for the debt. Someone comes and purchases that debt. And then we are beholden to those investors who purchase Guyana's debt. So if someone is purchasing your debt, that means that your economic sovereignty is beholden to that person. Third point, Mr. Winston Jordan. Sometime in the 2000s, I remember that former President Jack Deere was a governor of either the IMF or the World Bank. I know for sure. And what I'm saying to Guyanese people, there is no way that Trump could be working for the World Bank at the same time he's president. There's no way Prince Charles could be doing that at the same time. Why was Jack Deere working for the World Bank as the governor at the same time he was president of Guyana? And when he was there, what happened, Mr. Jordan? Can you tell us if you could basically give us some details so we could appreciate what can go wrong? And a lot of us are looking for Jack Deere's money. So if Jack Deere is brought on as governor for the World Bank, you think his money going to be in the Republic Bank somewhere? He comes and tells us, you could check everywhere, you could look and you will see, I don't have any money hidden anywhere, but you were inside the World Bank, the IMF. So, Mr. Jordan, if you will, kindly give us some introspective as to why Jack Deere was working as the governor for the World Bank. How might he have positioned Guyana to be exploited by these entities? Hence, how that exploitation facilitates oil exploitation. And you
Coffee is 9:05.
Thank you, sir, for giving me the time to talk to our people. Happy
Thank you for your
birthday
call.
when it gets there.
I'm going to take a few more calls, but you all be quick, please. Please be quick. Jack, be nimble. Jack, be quick. Call you on.
Good morning, Kidaki, and it's Freddie here. Shout out to Champagne Callison. Yes, I heard a few people talking about these people who taking the money from the PPP and stuff for they got to eat a food or whatever. But we got to understand that when you're struggling, you know, a drowning man clutches at a straw. And they said there's another saying about people when you're hungry or when you're dying of hunger, you take things from Kokobé man or whatever. So what we got to do is try to talk to them and let them understand that, okay, we understand your position. Don't be angry with them, but tell them that when the time is right, they know what to do because we have better in store for them. So we got to try and talk to them and treat them with a bit more compassion. I hear a lot of people saying they're not thing to Guyana and all of that, negative. But no, we got to understand their position. They're struggling. Secondly, I want to talk to my Indian brothers and sisters because we know that a lot of them are against the PPP and what they're doing, but we don't expect them to come over to APNU. But what they can do for us is stay away from the polls to show that their support, right? Because we know they won't go and vote for APNU or any other thing. So opposition, WP or whatever. So let them be though they're angry with the PPP, that's still that's my take for today. Have a good weekend and happy birthday.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you for your call. Hold the calls, please, and thank you. I have a number of voice notes I need to play. I see a certain person asking what happened to the voice notes. You see, I would like boss me around this program. Bosses has got pay, Good.
Lucky blessings and good morning to you and our listeners. Listeners from the diaspora and listeners from the four corners of the globe. Karaki, that misqueak day, you don't study him, man. You don't study him. Them so is political afterbirth. My contribution this morning, desperate times call for desperate measures. The PPP drummed in, so they're snatching at a straw. When you're in the ocean and you're drummed in, if a straw pass and you swim, you grab on it. Karaki, they could do what they want, they could see what they want, they could talk what they want. The PPP going down, and they are aware of that. They know that. This election, they can't win this. Because the message is already out there. They know that they are aware of that. And they know that they will lose. What the PPP trying right now is to save the ass from prison. They know they can't win, so they're doing all kind of things. If they could have get close to God, they might not take money and try to bribe him, but God is not a respecter of persons. You can't bribe him. I listened this man with the community conference yesterday. He talking about two black businessmen walk up in the office and he asking them how can he help them, and they turn and tell him that they want to contribute for what? To keep black people in poverty. Every black people know the PPP. They're trying their best to keep black people under subjection. It is not no secret. It open, and they feel that we dotish. They feel that we stupid. But Bharat, you'll get a shock of your life. You will get a shock of your life. And I know for sure, you're going straight to jail. Karaki out and listening.
Morning, Brother Kidaki. Morning, viewers. Morning, all right in Guyanese. Jolly Lincoln of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Viewers and Brother Kidaki, kudos to Mr. Norton for what he have done. Last Sunday at the Square of the Revolution. Tell you about that guy. That guy is one of the most smartest, brilliant politician they have in this country called Guyana. And I can't see the reason why people don't like this man. Or why people don't rally around this man. It's not about liking him or not. It's about the things that the man doing. Oh my gosh, what more y'all want this man to do? What more y'all want this man to do? Come on, bro. Come on, bro. You see all those who leave the PNCR party. It's a big slap on your face. You understand me? It's a big slap on your face. Y'all embarrass your own self. You understand me? Y'all embarrass your own self. Come on, bro. Y'all want to be leaders. You got to be one leader in the party. The party can go 10 and 5, 10 and 6, 10 and 12 leaders. Come on, bro. Y'all don't mean for weight. Y'all just pop up in the party and y'all want me to be leader. Come on, bro. Look what the man got through with the PNC. The man never leave and go nowhere. The man stick with the PNC all the years. All the years. Come on, bro. Get the man jacket. Get the jacket, man. Come on, bro. Come on, man. We are really looking to win. And there is when you have this point in time. It's the biggest and greatest mistake you ever make in your politics life in this country. I talk to all of y'all. I see some of y'all the PPP don't have no place for y'all. The PPP use y'all to see if they can get votes from where y'all come from. Y'all can't get no votes from where y'all come from. Y'all can get no votes because if people got sense, they will know that y'all cannot be the president of this country. You understand me? They will never vote for y'all. Because y'all can't be the president for this country. You understand me? So all who have heard, y'all do the right thing. The PNC and the WP and the rest of parties is the way to go. Coalition is the way to go. Nothing can stop coalition. Coalition is run this country already. And it can happen again. Actually, Mohammed will see y'all following. Mohammed is a PPP. A vote for Mohammed is a vote for the PPP. Because whenever they get in parliament, Mohammed is going to cross over with them. Come on, bro. Like what the rest of the other party do. Come on, bro. You got to wake up, man. You gotta wake up and smell the coffee. Wake up. You gotta wake up. You gotta wake up and smell the coffee. You gotta wake up, guys.
Mr. Kadab, good morning. And I'm saying it now, and I wouldn't be saying it again. Our Guyanese people, especially African Guyanese, they need to stop this madness and tell themselves that they have a future ahead of them. These people that are trying to run behind Muhammad is another Muhammad. Will you take out another one Muhammad and put in the next one? These people are stupid. They're not seeing. They are dense. That man doesn't even have any, as far as he don't even have a plan. Yes, money, he got money. He got money. And then he use our money. Our money. Because at the end of the day, when this man get in the power and get what he wants, those people will not see his preference. He is going to have, they will have to live in the handout stage, waiting to get a small house there, and some money here, some money there. That is how people want to live their life all the time. This is a time that people are supposed to wake up and smell the coffee and see that, put your vote where you know. You're gonna make some sense. You have a future ahead. It's not you and your grandchildren. People, what is the matter with y'all? I wouldn't have anything to say, but I know I'm gonna wait for it. Because you know what? All you're gonna be buried all over this place. When y'all is not buried all over this place, and bury all in the sea. Because crime ain't gonna stop. Under the PPP and under a Mohammed government. Bye. Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam and viewers. Isn't that same ambassador say that when was Adriano case, that is a government to government thing, that they can call for FBI and Scotland Yard and whatever. The government, the people can't ask, the lawyer can't ask, the police can't ask, it's the government got to ask. So all sudden, police ask to bring in people to overlook our elections. The next thing is Mohammed going to share Afro-Guyanese village and gathering the youth to support him. Why are he not going into the prison to see those innocent Afro-Guyanese that is there, to see what he can do for them and tell them what he would do for them to get them out when he turned president? And I don't know why we people are so stupid. No matter what we do, these people don't like us. No matter what we do. When the children they had Hassim born, he went there, he called them the most terrible name. When he heard the truth of the story, he didn't go back and apologize to them. He didn't go back and apologize to them. The week before they was at his yard support him, and the next week he was abusing them and cussing them and calling them all the bad names. Why they feel that when he gets into government, he gonna throw all of them in prison, because all of them just called thugs and scrapehead and the most terrible name, or them is criminals. We people don't learn. We gravitate to the wrong things, and the people that will support them, they're not going there, they're not looking there. They're believing in fake words.
Oh, sorry, I see somebody complain about echoing in the voice note. It was because my microphone was left up. I did say hold your calls so I can play the voice notes. Please hold your calls so I can play the voice notes. And please don't send me any other voice notes, people. Y'all wicked to me, you know.
Good morning, everyone. Kadaki. Good morning. What am I and sales Scalia said the name? He should take it as a compliment. Like was in there for Carl he was if he living in Guyana and see all the corruptions were taking place, who going to court, who going to jail, and all them kind of thing, and then still come and attack them stupidness. He should take them names so people call me as a compliment, because he worse than all of them. Bye-bye.
No, I. You're still tuned to the Guyanese Morning Time. I'm still your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. It is 19 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. I'm sure we have one more voice note to play. I am looking for it. I have no problems. I'm sure I saw voice note earlier. Is it gone? I keep playing the disappearing actor me.
Good morning, Kadaki, because I ain't getting in on your calls now. I don't have voice now, dear. You know where the man was calling. Imagine last night, I can't remember his who program, I think was on Sherrod program. When it looked like an Indian woman who was on the, I think she from Linden, they talking to the mayor, I think it is. And she just told him about how they got to go to these political, the PPP meetings. And if they don't go, their monies are being taken out. And for who ain't go, she says she didn't go and a few others. And they lose $4,000 out of their pay. Can you remember the local government election of 2023 when all the $40,000 workers had to go into the voting compartments with their phones? That is one thing that must not happen. And when it comes to people who can't speak the language, they should not be allowed to vote. Anyway, where the man what the talking is always, and you do entertain him early, and it destroy the program. I want to wish you a happy birthday for tomorrow. I don't know if I could make it by. I know what's gonna happen for your birthday, but let me see how things gonna work. I gotta see Emily and hear Emily gonna think. Anyway, one thing. Yesterday program with Minister Jordan when he mentioned about slavery and indentureship. I hope he's not annoyed, but slavery, he said it is a different thing. But for the indentured laborers, they signed on to a contract to come as indentured laborers. And whatsoever they meet up with, they sign for it. Because if somebody come and tell me, oh, come do this, say, sign for the whatsoever happened to me, I sign for the one. I always say, look, this is what you signed for. So they signed on to indentureship. So whatsoever happened to them as indentured laborers, the main chance thing, they were hired to do a job. So they came to do the job they were hired for. Unlike us Africans who are brought here as slaves against our will. So there is no similarity between slavery and indentureship. Slavery, you are forced into slavery. Indentureship, you sign yourself into indentureship. Like how there are a new set of indentured laborers coming from places like Bangladesh, and how better could bring them new centrically from to work in Guyana and all around the place, with the exception of Africa and Haiti, where these people are coming to populate Guyana and work as the 21st century indentured laborers. Bye-bye.
And thank you for that voice note, Brandon. Thank you, callers, for calling, and viewers for viewing, and sharers for sharing. Thank you for those of you who have contributed to the Cash App and the Zelle. Collis, bless up. Thank you for that. Little birthday mighty there. And Karen and Alfred, yes, y'all thanks. Stay safe. Have a good one. Tomorrow is my birthday. And I hope to get the children in the area a little treat. I always try to do that. And then hopefully if I find the strength and the energy and I feel like the 28th or thereabout, I want to get them a good showdown. Good? But tomorrow I want to take it a little light. Somebody tell me forget all the politics and just go and isolate myself and have a good time. You know, I live for the politics because how do I isolate myself and have a good time when my brethren and sisters are not having a good time? When they're facing hell in this society? How do I go and gorge myself and yam like a hung when I know that they're hungry children in this society? How do I do it? Can't do it, man. You know, Flash Garden 60 is a great number, you know. Even 40 and 50 these days, when you make them in this society, you gotta be very, very thankful because, as the old people say, young limes are dropped. Good. I'm still 16. Don't you see that in my face? I'm 16 still. You see, I still tooting. I got a missing tooth. I know. I'll have a good day. Blessed love. Much love, my. Y'all enjoy yourself. And you know, those of you can come down by Club Twilight tomorrow evening. Come down. And we drink a lemonade together. Who knows? You never know the mood I'm going to be in. Sometime I'm gonna make you buy, sometime I can buy. But take a walk and let me see what we want. Bye-bye.